Hello, this is River Joe, and I'm taking you along with me on an experimental build of a winter shelter. And as with almost everything I do, it's close to a river, and that is one of the keys to this shelter. This is a little river here in northern Indiana. It is carved out a valley. You can see the far bank there. But here's one of the reasons I brought you down here to the river bank. I'm going to show you the soil here. It is loose sand, which is unusual for this part of Indiana. Mostly it's clay. Up on top of that bluff there will be a clay cap. But this river has meandered along in this little valley here and carried sand with it. Now, my intent is to build an underground shelter, and I'm going to use this river bank. I don't want to dig into the river bank. It could cause erosion, and also the river might rise. So all these rivers have at one point moved. So over here, I'm not sure you can see this too well, there is a secondary bank that was formed who knows how many years ago, and this is where we're going to search for a site. And one of the things I want to avoid are big trees, because along with big trees come big roots. So I'm going to be as easy on myself as possible as far as digging in this earth goes. So you can see it's a brisk day, probably a little bit over freezing, supposed to get down in the 20s tonight. So I just wanted to get you started here if you're interested. And again, this is an experiment. I'm not here trying to tutor anybody. I'm just dragging you along if you want to come along on experimenting. And of course, one of my big goals is to have a source of heat inside my shelter, not a reflected heat, not a infrared heat, but a source of heat, a stove or a fireplace, if you will, inside the shelter. So I'm gonna try and find my site now, and I'll come back in a little bit.